Thanks for taking the time to chat with me today. I'm sure that you've been following, what's been going on in Ward 1 over the past couple of months, but it's been quite a time for the residents, for the council. Of course, kind of an unprecedented situation with, no one really knowing what's fully going on with former Councilwoman Indira Shoemaker, but now you're stepping up to kind of fill that position. So walk me through a little bit of your background and why you feel called to now step up and run in a special election.
Yeah, well, I'm Kimberley Strope-Boggus, and first of all, we are at the wonderful Tower Park, and this is the Tower Park splash pad here in Merle Hay. This place is important to me because I served on the Des Moines Parks and Rec when this project came through. It's just one of the many projects that I've been on in this city, one of the many boards that I've been on in the city, working for the betterment to make this place the best place it can be for the community and for the city of Des Moines. I'm running because we have not had leadership here in quite some time. Projects have gone to the wayside. We need someone who is forward thinking and is ready to step in on day one, meet with constituents, return emails, return phone calls. At the end of the day, people want their city government to work and to work well. And I think I'm the best candidate to do that.
Great. This is a little bit of a tough situation. I think that I'm sure that you've spoken to some Ward 1 residents, and you yourself you live in Ward 1, correct? So I'm sure that, maybe some of your neighbors and people that in the past 6 months, they're a little bit frustrated. Like you just said, there hasn't really been that representation, and other members of the council have had to step up to sort of fill those gaps. But I think they still feel like, there's just been this person serving that's been being paid and nobody's been there to kind of advocate for them. And so do you feel like there are going to be any challenges with stepping up to this position in terms of, what people are expecting and really needing to be that accountable person for these residents?
Sure. I want to give a lot of respect to the former councilwoman and respect to the people who voted for her, because they voted for change and they voted for somebody that they wanted to see something different. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out, but I can guarantee to her supporters, to the people that gave her a chance, that I have a long-standing career and track record of getting things done, getting the work done in the ward, attending those meetings, sitting through budgets, and I think I'm the best candidate for the next generation of leadership. And I think that's what we need, is when we want to talk about generational leadership. I'm raising 4 beautiful children with my wife. Living in a diverse community, a biracial child, that's who I am. So I understand these challenges, and the council lacks that. And I need to step in and serve, and I will be ready on day one.
Speak a little bit about your background with, you had said in your press release yesterday that you were the former campaign chair for Bill Gray, who held this position before the former councilwoman Indira Shoemaker. So speak a little bit about your experience specifically in city politics and why now, you feel that that's allowing you to step up and be the point person in this position.
Sure. There are many projects in Ward 1 that I have either advocated in front of City Council for, most importantly being the local option sales tax. That was important, and I went to neighborhood meetings, knocked on doors to get people to vote for it, and the second time it came around, it passed. And so now the city is benefiting from that money, and projects are being done. A second thing, development. I believe that we need development to compete with the suburbs. Fairway came into Beaverdale, just right over here, and it was a project that I sat on and helped. I spoke in front of the city council to get it approved, talked to neighbors, met with neighbors, and got it approved. Another huge thing that happened in Ward 1 a few years ago was the floods. I was part of the flood recovery task force. So going to neighbors' homes, helping them bail out, their basements were flooded, and then getting that money to do the much needed improvements that are happening just a few blocks away. They've been doing a lot of work to get those sewers fixed, and so that they can take the capacity when we have those rains, which we're going to have those rains with climate going on right now.
And what's sort of your campaign strategy? I know that this is going to be, it's a quick cycle. With your campaign background, you told me, you sort of know what this takes to gather. I know you need to get 75 signatures. I'm not sure if that's something that you've already done in terms of getting those signatures.
I can't tell you all my secrets now, can I?
Got it. But it requires funding and planning, and it's coming up. I'm sure a lot of people normally when they're campaigning. I know that there was that paperwork deadline with the 21st, but it's a quick moving process. And so,
It is.
what I want to ask you is, what sort of your campaign strategy over the next, let's say, month and a half until that November 7th date, not only, speaking to residents who, have probably been following this situation, but also making sure that, you're sort of catching up where, the last 6 months, have sort of left those gaps.
Yeah, my day kind of starts out crazy because I do have 4 children. So I get them off to school, get them to daycare, and then it's hitting the phones, talking to people. We'll be hitting doors, knocking. We will be coming to doorsteps, talking to people, voters where they are, connecting with them, hearing what their issues are, hearing what they want, getting to know them, meeting with neighborhood associations. Those are important. Those are the lifeblood of the community and the ward. Neighborhood associations. I served on the Beaverdale Neighborhood Association for 6 years. I know how important it is to have a council member that attends those meetings and has good rapport with the members on there, because when projects come through, you want your neighborhood associations on your side.
And what do you think sets you apart from potentially anybody else who in the next week, 2 weeks, potentially steps up to also run for this position?
Sure. I think what separates me is that I've always been doing this. I've always been building community. I've always been helping people fundraise, helping people get out the vote, helping people bring bond issues. I've always been there. And then even with the lack of representation that we've had, people were still calling me and saying, Kimberly, what can I do? Because they might not have known the at-large councilman, but I did. So I was able to call them and say, 42nd Street wants to know when their pothole's going to be fixed. And I would connect with the council. I have a great rapport with the council. I've worked with them in many capacities. I think that I would be value add to the council. And when we want to make Des Moines forward thinking, let's move forward. We don't have to go back to the past and rely on people who maybe had served before. Let's be visionary, let's be bold, and let's get the work done.
And I think one big question on a lot of people's minds is, people have been sort of been discussing maybe the stress that holding public office holds, especially given that, city council positions for a lot of people are technically part-time. And so, as you've mentioned, you're a mother, you're, a wife, you're dealing with a lot of different things. And then, this is also something that you'd be adding to your plate. And so for maybe anybody out there who's listening to this, any Ward 1 residents who are maybe a little bit concerned about somebody that's going to now step into this position, something like what happened with the former councilwoman happening
Sure.
again, what would sort of be your response to that?
Yeah, I think I make about 50 decisions before my feet even hit the ground in the morning. So I fully believe in work-life balance. A lot of phone calls are returned at 7 o'clock when kids go to bed. Meetings are held. Family is a priority. Your mental health should always be a priority. I think that we need to make sure that our elected officials are held accountable, but also they're human. And there's the human element to this. I will be a council member who will be responsive, because that's how I've been on Parks and Rec or the Beaverdale Neighborhood Association or the Fall Festival that we're putting on this week. I've been accountable. I have a track record of doing it. So people will get a trusted public servant in me.
And what are sort of your goals if you are elected to the council? What are sort of your goals or your expectations with holding that position?
Yeah, one thing that I really want to talk about, I think that the council and people have a hard time entertaining 2 thoughts at once. I think we can do development, and I think we can do affordable housing at the same time. It shouldn't be an and or an other, because we want to bring people into Des Moines and not lose them out to the suburbs, but we need high quality housing that's affordable and accessible. But we also need development and entertainment to keep people here, or we will continue to lose out to the suburbs. And I live in Des Moines. I chose to move here, raise my family here. I think we can do both.
Leading up to that November 7th, any final messages, or, what are you sort of trying to put out there now? I know that you're getting everything organized. So what's sort of the next couple of weeks going to look like for you as you're getting ready for that election date?
Yeah, it'll be, reach out to me via Gmail, ksb4dsm at gmail.com. Visit my website, visit my Facebook page, donate. Come see me at the Beaverdale Fall Festival. I will be, I'm co-chairing the parade. The parade is back, folks. It's great. And then I will be volunteering most of the day at the beer tent. So that's where you can find me. Come and ask me questions. Come sign my petition, KSB for Des Moines.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much
Well,
for
you're
taking
very
the time
welcome.
to